We're going to talk about the spring market because it is here. Um, Come off mute if you can and just give a little like me if your buyers or your listings have seen multiple offers in the last month.
Definitely.
Me.
Yep.
Yep,
Me.
100%.
Okay. So we are going to be doing a couple things today. We are going to be talking about how we tailor a buyer consultation or even a regroup with buyers to specifically make strategies around expectations for folks that are trying to buy this spring. We're going to talk about multiple offers and strategies and how to prepare your buyers for that so they feel like they have a good they've got a like they're not behind the eight ball when you ultimately will run into multiple offers. And then what we do with clients that aren't feeling like they can be super competitive. And then organization for you as an agent, how to keep everything organized so your
Your
business
business.
feels like it's flowing really smoothly and you feel a little bit less of the crunch. I had to do some showings this weekend and I had to tell my
There's
son,
nothing
like,
to
yeah,
see, basically.
I've got showings. And he's like, oh, you haven't done showings in a while. I'm like, yeah, it's the spring market. And I use a buyer's agent and everything. But we get busier and busier and busier. And we have to make sure that we are organized as agents so our clients can have a really, really good experience. So some of this is prepping buyers, but some of this is also you prepping things you have to do on your own to get in tune with the market. And that's not going to be client facing stuff. Okay, so I've got Flex Mortgage on here. We're gonna tandem present. So sometimes I'll turn it over to Matt. And then if you have any questions at any time, Matt, can you kind of monitor the chat and just interrupt me?
I'm on it.
Okay, sweet. And the best way to get your questions answered is to legit just interrupt me because I'm not keeping faces on and I tend to just kind of blow through things and just keep going. So you can just stop and say, hey, Liz, can you slow down? But if you haven't met before, I'm Liz Gust. I am a realtor and performance coach. I am based out of headquarters in Edina. So if we haven't met, come and say hi. I'm not here today, but I should be there the rest of the week this week. All right, so let's get into it. Some of this is going to be a little bit of a repeat for folks that were in the Elevate training last week, but we're talking about meeting for a buyer consultation. What should you do to put your best foot forward with these buyers? So I send my buyers a Google survey about their home search, even if I have an intake call with them or I might meet them at an open house or their referral or their friends and I know a little bit about their search. I send them a buyer survey because I do a couple of extra things. I ask them to send me a couple listings that they, meet what they're looking for. And maybe those were listings that they had saved on Zillow that sold. I ask if they are interviewing any other agents. And then I ask some questions that I wouldn't take the time to necessarily ask over a phone call, but I want to know prior to meeting. And one of those is, have you been pre-approved with a lender? And if not, can I send you a referral to one so we can get started before. I said this last week in Elevate, but I really, really try to push off this meeting until they've had a chance to do a pre-approval app, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Then I use that buyer survey to set them up on an MLS search. So they're going to be on an MLS search before they meet with me, before they sign on with me, and potentially before they see any houses. So I'll get the survey, I'll do the MLS search, I'll send them the One Home app. I know if you use MLS Touch, like you're fancier than me, but send them the app. And especially if they're Zillow, really send them the app. So they're not looking at stuff on Zillow, they're actually seeing stuff on the MLS, right? And then review those responses before the meeting and then get your mortgage application going. So there's a QR code for you to scan there so you can kind of see what some of this stuff looks like. So we're going to kick it over to Matt, and this is really important. And financing is important in the first part of the process. It takes a lot of work to get financed, and you want to make sure you tell your buyers that you prep them that this is going to take some work to get your financing set up. But it's really, really important to do that before we go out and shop for houses because you know, five times out of 10, these houses are going to be in multiple offers, and then we are going to feel like we're behind. So, Matt, do you want to come
Yeah.
off mute? I'll mute and
Yeah. So when it comes to getting pre-approved, I think we all know, obviously, we want to be showing pre-approved buyers. We don't want to be out there driving. But when it comes to that spring market, especially, again, we don't have time. So we want to make sure that these buyers are as educated as possible. So that way they can just worry about finding that right house and making solid offers. Um, I think with how fast everything does move, we want everything at the end to be as positive as possible. If they start missing out on homes that they love because they're not prepared, I think that's on ourselves, that we didn't get them prepared fast enough. So again, every seller out there, they're going to be, whether it be 2 to 10 to 15 different offers. If we have a sloppy offer or, an offer sent in and a pre-approval 2 days later, that's not going to look great to the listing agent or to the sellers. So we're going to really want to make sure that our buyers are fully pre-approved and again fully confident with the numbers that were sent to them. We talked last week about pre-qualification versus pre-approval as well, which might be the next slide. But we want to make sure that these buyers are educated. So whether they're approved through us or not, you're going to want to double check and ask the question once they get that application, they get that approval. Hey, have you received that estimate? Are you comfortable with your monthly payments at this price point? Are you comfortable with the cash to close at this price point? And again, that's something you should be having the conversation with your loan officers with as well. Is hey, what are they planning on doing for down payment? Just so we can prepare. Is like, hey, 3% minimum. Are we doing 20%? So we have any idea if we might get an appraisal waiver. What kind of offers are we writing with these buyers as we move towards putting in that offer? You want to go to that next slide?
yep.
Perfect. So yeah, I mean, again, getting the pre-approval is much better than that pre-qualification. So we've gone over this a few times, but we'll just touch on the basics again here real quickly. Pre-approval is going to be, hey, we have full credit, credit reviewed, we have income, we have assets, we have our AUS run, which stands for our automated underwriting system, which you have to have if you're going with a conventional FHA, USDA, VA loan. Non-QM is a little bit different, but not too many non-QM buyers out there right now. Where that pre-qual might just be an application. You might just trust the loan officer might just trust what the buyers put down as their income. We get buyers all the time saying, yeah, I work full time, 40 hours a week. Here's my, this is my rate, and it comes back and their rate of pay is, $5 less, and they work sometimes 32 hours, sometimes 36, sometimes 40, but that's going to be what underwriters call variable income, and we can't use full-time income. So that's stuff that you really want to get those income docs in there so you can see the year-to-date income, the boring stuff that we have to deal with to make sure that they are approved. Again, we'd love to take buyers at their word, but I think you know as well as we do that that's not always the best case scenario. So getting that pre-approval and having that conversation with the lender that, hey, they do have the full pre-approval. We have seen income. We have seen assets. We do have a credit pull. And then here's what we're going to do. We're doing conventional 5% down. They have their monthly payment. They have the estimated costs to close, so they know exactly what they're dealing with. Is it a gift? That type of thing. But again, the earlier we can get them out there, again, like Liz said, before she even meets with them, it's great to have this done, so that way you can have a much more meaningful conversation when you're talking about the spring market and what they're looking to purchase, because this is the stuff that they just need to know about, and they should be having fun and enjoying and actually shopping for that house without worrying about what these numbers are. The last thing you want is to be putting in that offer, them having no idea and having to cancel the purchase agreement because they are so shocked by the numbers. So I think that's the most important thing, is that our job is to educate them as much as possible before they make that offer. So that way there's no concerns. You don't have those first time buyers getting cold feet. Buyers getting cold feet a lot of times has to do with them not being educated enough on the front end. And we want to make sure that they are, again, in the spring market, we don't have time to waste. You don't want to be out there showing homes to buyers who are, not educated enough right now, because you have plenty of other buyers who are willing to purchase right now. So that's our main focus.
Yep. And I would say, in addition to a pre-approval letter, you as the agent, if it's not your referral to a lender, especially, you need to get in touch with that lender ASAP, preferably before you're meeting with the buyer. So then you can say to the buyer, I've talked to Matt. This is our plan. And then when you get to talking about offers and timeline and highest and best, which we'll go over in a little bit to prep them, you already have that set up. You already have that triangle of trust set up. And you know what their working hours are. So if you're going to go see homes on Saturday and it's Wells Fargo, you better have the number of someone else who's going to be working that file for you. But it's on you to make that relationship with the lender. I tell buyers I will work with whoever you want, but I am going to be getting in touch with them frequently and keeping them up to date in the loop with our plans. And I'm going to be getting that weekly schedule from them. So, um, all of those things are super important. And then with multiple offers, if you are a listing agent and you don't have a spreadsheet for multiple offers, please email me after this and I'll send you mine. But in one of the columns, I have lender. Have I worked with them? How has the lender communicated with me about their offer? The sellers see that. So I will be putting things into that multiple offer spreadsheet as offers come in. I won't full on present or send them the offer, but those little things are part of it. And that's part of my multiple offer spreadsheet. So who is the lender? Is it a pre-qual versus a pre-approval? Percent down. Is there a written statement? Have I worked with them before? And how has the lender gotten in touch with me? All of those 5, 6 things are in that spreadsheet. Okay. So really, really make a plan, but it's on you to whoever they get financed with to set up that professional triangle of trust for your clients. Okay. Any specific questions just from that last little bit? Look at all the people here. I'm so excited. And maybe some of you are just bored because it's a snow day, but I'm hoping you're here because for value, but awesome. Okay, let me reshare. I am not the best Zoom teacher, but
Let me add one more thing too, because you brought up a
Yep.
great point.
Yep.
As you're making that offer too, after you've built that great triangle of trust, I like that verbiage there. Make sure that hey, we're sending in this offer. Please reach out to the agent. I always ask the agents to CC me on that email so I know exactly
Yes.
when it's sent out. I
Yes.
don't want to call them before they even have the offer, so they don't even know what they're talking about. So as soon as that
Yep.
offer is sent, I call them, say, hey, you just got an offer sent into you from Liz Gust, her clients, blah blah blah. I want to be reaching out right away so that way hey, these buyers are serious. We have a lender who is ready to go. This is solid. Just because Liz said she's got that spreadsheet, she knows which ones she trusts. And the sellers are going to see that information as well. So,
Yeah. I love it. Cool. Okay. All right, Matt, financing options when buyers get pre-approved early. And these are some things that we have, like maybe we want to, talk about using a gift or a 401k loan when we get into like appraisal gap coverage or something like that. But important to get done early,
yeah.
especially with selling an existing property. That A, B, and C plan with, okay, the plan is to be contingent. Okay, what about a recast? Okay, what about a bridge? Like having those A, B, and C type plans. But Matt, what do you want to go over on this?
Yeah, I think it's just, hey, there are so many different scenarios. I mean, we don't have, just like you guys working with buyers, sellers, there's not one situation that's the same. So, I mean, when we talk about options, there's not like, oh, well, we have here's our basic option. It's like, okay, here's their situation. We need to make sure, kind of going over why it's so important to do this beforehand, whether you're 2 months, 3 months, 6 months out. We want to have that plan ready to go because, again, yeah, selling an existing property, we're going to go in contingent or non-contingent. What options do we actually have? If we're going non-contingent, hey, and you need to exclude that debt to income on that previous loan and you need some of those funds, there are programs out there. We can discuss what those options are. I mean, Home Light is probably one of the most popular ones out there right now, and we'll do a training on that as well. But um, there are different options out there. Do they get a bridge loan? Those are getting less and less. The difference between a bridge loan and a HELOC. What are the options there? What are the costs there? What is the seller and new buyer willing to do? Because again, these buy before you sell programs, the bridge loans, they're not free and they're not the cheapest. But what they do is they let you buy that house when you want it. So having those plans ready to go, having those options laid out for them, saying, hey, if you want to be non-contingent, here are the best options you have. Which one would you like to do? Again, being contingent in this market might not be the best option. That's a discussion that we the agent and the lender should have as well is, hey, what is the best move forward for these people? Here are the options that they have. 401k, that can take some time depending on who the servicer is for the 401k. Some servicers have different options too. So let's say, make that call, hey, buyer, seller, make that call, see what options your 401k has for you, whether it's, no penalty for 60 days of removal of that funds, or it's a loan that they can get as well. If we have room for that in the debt to income ratio. I'm working with somebody right now. It's, hey, mom and dad, can you lend me $400,000 until I sell off my property, which they're doing. So there are different options out there. It just depends on what the client is going to be. But again, trying to figure that out within a day because you want to put an offer in on a house you just saw is not the smoothest and will not be the best. You know, won't be the best experience for the client. It'll be very painful and stressful for you as well as the seller. So getting ahead of this, figuring out, getting all of your ducks in a row to see what options you have and then fully lay them out for them so that they can make their best decision as well. Again, will just make the entire process much more smooth. So again, there's a ton of options out there, but I think the key to all this is, hey, if you want to buy, whether it's right now, mid-spring, late spring, summer, start this right now, because there's a lot of moving pieces in a transaction, and I think it's going to be a very, very busy spring with what we've been seeing so far.
Yeah. And how many of us have gotten offers on our listings and we have an outdated pre-approval letter, it's expired, or it's from a different property, and you're like, dude, why can't you have your ducks in a row? All of that. I like to tell my buyers at consultation, do I have your permission to be direct and honest with you about what I think we are going to need to do and next steps to purchase your home at any given point? Do I have permission to be direct and honest with you and tell you what you need to do for this next step? And they're like, of course. And then if I say, hey, you need to by tomorrow get this information over to your lender to get your gift letter set up, then I remind them that, remember when I asked you if I could be direct and honest with the next thing you need to do to be in the best position to buy a house. This is one of those times. We can't assume that everyone just could be a very type A person and still needs to be led through this process. Awesome. Okay. Get yourself organized. Set up the following. Make a Google Drive folder for every buyer. Do it before your consultation. Have an invitation to them. Share it with your clients. You'll put disclosures in there, put tissues in there, buyer rep agreements, and your pre-approvals can go in there. So you're not just forwarding random things through email. Everything is there. Everything is contained, and it shows them that you are organized. Also, I set up a folder. This might seem like mid or whatever. That's what my son would say. Like, it's easy, right? Not everyone's doing this though. I mean, like, set up a folder. These are my listings, by the way. Set up a folder so all your correspondence goes through there. Madeline and I, we lost a buy sell because they said they emailed us a couple things. We went through with our Tyler, IT guy, Madeline, me, my assistant, and I'm like, dude, any correspondence went into their folder. If you sent us something, there's no way it didn't. I mean, we knew that we didn't miss anything because we're organized, right? So get everything set up. Then you're not digging through emails. That takes time. This is Gmail. I use Gmail and I forward everything from Outlook. I'm not an Outlook girl. I can't tell you how to do it in Outlook. Tyler probably can, or someone can, not me. And then you need to use the data to make yourself the expert before this meeting. So this is what we're going to pull now. Some of this is going to be a repeat of data from last week, but this is all stuff that I have and I know and I've pulled and printed ahead of this buyer meeting or this buyer regroup. This is stuff you need to know. This shouldn't be news to you when you're out there searching. You shouldn't have to be like, well, let's look through the comps and then find out there's only 1 month of inventory for houses, and you just figured that out with these people that are searching in March. So this is what I pull and have printed for them. I have months of inventory. Nope. Here we go. This is using their search that I set up, an auto email, results, the data tab, and then this is the months of inventory. I only do 2 years. I do 12 months or 2 years. So they can see that, boom, things come off the market in January and they start to come back up, get bought. They kind of peak in October and come on. But look at this search. It's still 1.5 months of inventory, maybe 1 3/4. 0 to 3 months is a seller's market. 3 to 6 is a neutral market. 6 to 9 is a buyer's market. So these people, these buyers are in what? Don't all say it at once. They are in what kind of market? Anyone? Are they in a buyer's market or a seller's market?
Sellers.
Seller's market. Okay, they're in an extreme seller's market. Like look at this. Like it's going to be very competitive. Okay? 1 month of inventory, maybe two, over 2 years. Okay. Another thing is how long are properties actually staying on the market? Again, this is with their auto email in the stats. And you can, again, you can see the trend. They start to, essentially stay on the market longer, and then we drop off here. Okay. And this can also include inspection days. This is not just how long they're on the market before they get an offer. I highly recommend if you're a listing agent, you TNAS your properties so it stops counting days on market for an offer. You have to have the broker do that, but I highly recommend you do that. But know how long houses are staying on the market. Okay. Show them this. All right. Close price and list price. You can see that here's the fall for their search. That's the only time things aren't getting over 100% of list price. Okay. I took a competitive angle here, and you can break this down even more. So these are the data points that I go through with them for their search is I show them these graphs, and I already know this ahead of time. I already know how many days are on market for them. I already know months of inventory, but this is stuff that you show them. So it's not just you saying to them when you get in a house, oh my gosh, it's in multiple offers. Like, let's do comps. You don't need comps for this. I think comps are stupid in the spring market. It's this kind of stuff. Okay. Next. And then, yeah, list of sales price, and you can break it down by month that way as well. You can also use InfoSparks. I just like to use their search. I think it's better data. Okay. All right, moving on here. Then I do a quick CMA, and I run from their search active and pendings, and then closed in the last 30 days. So let me find that graph right here. Okay. So this is, nope, that's a different one. I have a few different ones I want to show here, and I just need to get them in the right order. Okay. So this is either pending or closed in the last 30 days, just from their search, their auto search. I select them. I do a quick CMA. So for the pending listings, average days on market 29. Average list of sales price, I can't see because my little thing is over it. Oh, we don't know because they're pending. Excuse me. And then average days on market for close in the last 30 days only, 12, 101% of list price. The lowest sold for 98%. Like, if that's not a wake-up call, that's $6,000 under list price, you guys. That's it. And then 108%. One listing went up to 108%. Well, how high could these offers go? Show them the data so you are prepared in the last month. Average is 101%. And then another thing I do is I am going to look at last year at this time, March to May. Our spring markets move pretty parallel. They really do. So March to May of last year, see if I have the right little graph here. Nope. Nope. One of these should be March to May of last year. Okay, this one. Okay. Yep. So I look at last year's spring. Here, let's look at the market last spring. Maybe this is what I did. No, yeah. No, I didn't. 101% again, 14 days on market. Lowest was 88% here. But again, it's showing them that this is a pattern that's probably repeating. Okay. But last year's data can teach us a lot about this year, and I think we're even more competitive. And then I will do closed in less than 7 days on the market for an entire year. So this is stuff that we assume kind of went into multiple offers, and it closed sometime over the last year. It was only on the market for 7 days. So this is closer to the multiple offers market. 102% average, 118%. Insane, right? 4 days on average out of 7, I just pulled those. So this is a multiple offer market here for the whole last year. Okay, so these are reports that you can run, again, to be ready to have that data prepped. Awesome. Okay, showing time activity. Know what showings are like in the Twin Cities market. It's a very easy link. I'll go to it now. I think I have it sitting right. It's this impact of COVID-19. That's where it started. This impact of COVID-19 on showings. Here we are in Minnesota. This was ice. This was ice. And then here we are. We are outpacing every other year. The last 4 years, you guys. We're outpacing it. We kind of dropped down a little bit this weekend, but essentially our market is busier. Listings are getting more showings. Help them figure this out. Look, it just gets less, less competitive here. So if you have a not very competitive buyer, this is the window you should be targeting. Okay. But this is spring market. So watch this graph. Okay. Go out and see properties at the end of March where there might be spring breaks. Over Memorial Day, go and see properties. That's your window. 4th of July, all these things. But you use this chart and show them when showings start to pick up, show them where we are and know those numbers for yourselves. But we're 65.5% higher than baseline start of this year. So that's a really big uptick in showings. Anyone have any questions about this? I think this is awesome. I use it all the time and I bring it to my listing appointments. All right, sweet. This is something I send out weekly to my A buyers. I show them that graph. I send it out weekly. I'll show you the other things I send out weekly to my A buyers to keep them on track for the market. And then again, look at your active and pending listings. How many are or were in multiples? This is your current market. Before that buyer consult, call the listing agent, grab the pendings, and find out if it was in multiples and try to get a number. Don't call the listing agent. They're not going to tell you. Call the buyer's agent. They're probably going to tell you, hey, notice this was in multiples. I'm prepping a buyer to be in the same market. You've got a client under contract as a buyer. Can you tell me, did you go a chunk over list price? Is there any insight you can give me? I just want to prep this buyer for what to expect. I share that information for any agents that'll ask me that. But that looks like digging through your stuff and just going, this was something else I pulled, but going, pending by pending, looking, seeing if it's multiple offers, call that agent, and then get an actual chart to show your buyers. Out of the 7 pendings, 4 were in multiple offers. And I can tell you from the feedback I got that they kind of went this much above. You should know how many multiple offers there were on these pendings. The pendings is the active market. Okay, that's prep that you need to do ahead of time as a buyer's agent and have all that info there too, because pendings are the market. Closed are not the market. Pendings are the market. Awesome. Sign up for home free TC purchase agreement summaries. So you can email them, and every Friday they will send you a week by week snapshot of the market. I send this to all my clients, A buyers again, weekly. One of my agents sent this out to folks this week and got a response back and said, hey, I'm ready to start looking at houses. Sent this out to their database. Just this. I think it was maybe Antonio, one of my agent clients. So send this out. Know these numbers. So when you go show a house or you're writing an offer, you could be like, well, I know that 25% of inspections are being waived. An agent asked me last week in the office, I can't say to waive inspections, I don't want to tell them that. And I said, well, you can tell them that based on the data I get, 25% of inspections are being waived. So we can kind of expect that. But sign up for this. It's really accurate. It's really great. They're the biggest transaction management company in the Twin Cities. So they've got a lot of data to use. Okay. Use that. Sign up for those. How to set expectations for showings. This is really important in the spring market as we start to get busy. Our time becomes limited and our time is very valuable. And you need to set up the expectation with your clients that just because a house finally comes on in their portal or 3 houses, you don't need to see all of them. So you need to ask your buyers for their 3 to 4 non-negotiables. What are some common non-negotiables you hear from buyers?
Has to have a fence.
Fenced in yard for our dog. especially those millennial buyers. What else?
I would say bathrooms are a requirement. Two at least. The two, I mean. It
Yeah,
seems like
yeah,
everyone wants at least
two
two.
bathrooms, and you better know if that second bathroom is a Pittsburgh potty, which is just a toilet in the middle of the basement with nothing around it, right? Okay, bathrooms. What's another non-negotiable?
Not on a busy street.
Okay, so we are only going to see houses from your list that have these 3 to 4 non-negotiables. You tell them, if it doesn't have all of these and you ask to see it, I'm going to ask you, what does it have that offsets that non-negotiable? So if it's on a busy street, does it have an extra bedroom and is the kitchen just amazing? You get an island, you get quartz, you get stainless appliances, and for the rest of their budget, they're not seeing that in houses. So what offsets it? And then remind them that we aren't going to see it. We're probably going to be disappointed. You have to lead your buyers. For my first set of buyer tours after my appointment, I pick the houses and I pick low, medium, high in their price point, and I drive that bus myself to start. But you're going to have to drive the bus a little bit here, or you're going to be a showing agent, and you want to be a buyer's agent, a contract agent. Okay, preview houses. I can walk in a house in 45 seconds and know if it's going to be a fit. That's a lot easier than driving out and spending 30 minutes in that house because they just want to see it. So preview houses if you can. And if they can't write at or over list, you cannot go see that house that weekend. They have to at least be able to write lists and be competitive. Otherwise, you tell them that we will see the houses that made it through the weekend. Those houses that are there on Tuesday and Wednesday, those are our opportunity zone. But otherwise, in this market, you cannot take them to see stuff that's above their price range. Some agents aren't willing to have that conversation. Then your buyers are going to lose in multiples. This is a good time to tell them your average number of offers in the spring per buyer or year. Mine is 1.3 offers per client for my whole career. I came up in 2018 when things started to get crazy. And honestly, I can tell you that 75% of the offers I've written over my career were in multiples. That is how competitive my market is and the market my buyers are in. Know your average. That's a good time to see it. Maybe start 15K below your asking price for buyers, okay? Otherwise, again, you're going to be setting them up for disappointment in a hot market. So those conversations are important to have, and that's the point where you say, "Hey, can I be direct and honest with you? You asked to see this house. You're pre-approved up to 360. It's at 375. We can't go see this the first weekend on market. We might not even be able to see it the second weekend on market, but it has to get through that first weekend." Okay? This is the point where you remind them and show them that you are the market expert and remind them of their expectations, all of those things. I talked a buyer out of buying a house this spring. He met with 2 Zillow agents. He was a former student. And I sat down with him for a buyer consultation, did all this data. He was going to go see some things with Madeline, and he opted out. He said, you know what? I think I should wait until my bonus reflects in that 2 years of work history and I can get up to 300,000 because I'm just going to be disappointed in these houses. I'm going to wait. That was the best case scenario for him because he wasn't going to be able to be competitive. And he said, I'm so glad that you sat down with me and showed me this because other agents were just showing me stuff. I didn't like any of those, anything that they're showing. So you have to be in alignment with your clients. The spring buyers you meet with now, no matter what their intentions are, they might be a fall buyer, a summer buyer, and you have to be the one to show them that. Okay. Not everyone can be a spring market buyer. We do our best. Okay, teaching your buyers about multiple offers. I like to talk about this in the consult. I don't go super into detail, but I really like to talk about it. How many offers per client is your average? Figure that out. And if you don't know, start making a simple spreadsheet. You know, how many, like the Zerfrans, how many did you have to write to get accepted? Like just keep a running average. What terms are being accepted in offers? Go back to that home free TC. What are typical offers looking like? What is a typical process for highest and best? Explain this at your consult. Say that a lot of times when there are multiple offers received, sellers call what is called a highest and best process for offers. That means that they get multiple offers. They set a deadline, usually the next day, sometimes a Sunday or a Monday by a certain time for all offers to come in. that means that we can change our offer all the way up until the deadline. But everyone else can too. And that might mean writing a whole new offer for us, or it might mean just doing a simple what's called a counteroffer addendum. But that doesn't mean if there's a highest and best deadline call that if they get an amazing offer, sellers can't take it. Sellers also don't have to call highest and best. They might get multiple offers, we might know that, but we might get an email that says, you know what, we accepted an offer. It's up to the seller for what they want to do, and it's a little bit of the wild, wild west. They can also take an offer from that list and they might counter that offer to try to get some other terms in. They don't just have to pick. So take them through what that scenario is like so they expect it and can be ready for it. Okay, but tell them sellers can really do whatever they want. This is typically what's done. This is what I've seen, and this is how I approach it. I tend to want to be the first offer in no matter what. I think it makes a difference, and it's definitely on my spreadsheet, the order of offers. I still think that can be a really good foot forward. I don't like to send in my updated offer until the very last minute because I don't want them to be able to say what your offer is, and they might, depending on if they have permission from their sellers or not. Okay, so talk them through the process, talk them through how you are going to support them through that process. And then just share some terms that your clients have had success with. And we'll go through my multiple offers spreadsheet or multiple offers like strategies too. And then consider making a spreadsheet of your winning offers so you can say like, hey, look at all these buyers that have helped through multiple offers. These are the things that have gotten their offers accepted. That builds confidence in you, confidence for you and your clients, you know? But again, know the market, know if it's appraisal gaps that are getting things through. Know that they're going to be, if they're a one-level townhome, they're going to be competing against 50 to 75% cash. It's just going to be what it is. But know those strategies. So you got to set up your buyer's expectation of the market, and you need to pre-plan how you're going to behave in a competitive situation because you're going to be in one, more than likely. Okay, now I tell them, the most fun we have in this is writing offers and really getting strategic in that. So questions to ask yourself at this consult and with your buyers. What's your buyer's strongest term? Okay, and if so, can you make that even stronger? So if they're FHA, it's price. If they can't compete on price, it might be inspection or other contingencies. But figure out a plan and figure out this is what our strongest term is going to be. And if it's price and they're FHA, you're going to have to write several, and that's okay. But figure that out. What are their non-negotiables early on? Figure out if your buyer is going to be someone who would consider a walk and talk inspection or not, who would consider getting some help from mom and dad and asking and doing some kind of appraisal gap or not. Figure out what their non-negotiables are and support those non-negotiables. Don't fight them on that. And then don't underestimate like the small things that can make a difference. 24-hour delayed possession for me has been a game changer. A free rent back for a month or 2 weeks, game changer. That might not make a difference to your buyers at all, but in a seller that has a house full of crap, it might make a huge difference. Okay. So just be really, really, really strategic. And then I give my buyers a link to multiple offer strategies. And sometimes it's when we're touring a house and I know it's multiple offers and I know we're going to make a plan to write. I give them this at the tour and I say, read these over in the car, talk about this. And when we come back together at 6 to write this offer, share what you're comfortable doing, but review these. So I'm not walking them through these, one at a time when we're writing their offer. They've already kind of know what some of these are. Okay. So escalation clauses. I like my escalation clause. I don't use the Pemberton one. I have a specific one. Inspection guarantee. Antonio or Mara, can you come off mic and can you share what you countered back for your inspection guarantee and how you changed it from what you got in an offer this weekend?
Yes, it was wait. Okay. Yes, we still echo.
Oh, we might have lost him. Oh, there's an echo. I don't know. Okay, so they emailed me and said oh, are you there?
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, it was more was negotiating. We had 3 offers, and the 3 of them had some kind of a material defect. And she went back to the offer that the seller liked it and used the previous one to negotiate a better term for the sellers and got $5,000 non-negotiable items. So it was shorter the term of the closing and the material defect for the inspection.
Awesome. So they got a material defect clause, or I would call it like just like some kind of an inspection guarantee. And they got one that said, we're not gonna, I'll just make up a number, but like we're not gonna ask for anything, below $5,000 for any defects that come back on inspection. And I said, you should add a based on contractor estimates to that. So it's not just the agent being like, this totals about $4,000 worth of repairs, so we're gonna or $6,000 of repairs, so we're gonna ask for X. Get contractor estimates so you actually have those numbers stacking up. And they did that, and I think they got that accepted, right? They countered back with that term. So inspection guarantees, and make sure that you've got contractor estimates attached to those. I see inspection guarantees all the time. And I get them accepted a lot, especially when I put in based on bona fide contractor estimates. We're gonna have to have contractors out there with actual numbers to ask. So great job, you guys, for getting extra for your clients. That's awesome. Walk and talk inspections, appraisal gaps. This is where I like to defer to the lender and let the lender have a conversation with them about appraisal gap coverage, because I can't guarantee that my buyer has enough cash. So the buyer's like, yeah, let's put in a $15,000 appraisal gap. Cool. Do you have that money? And I have had agents ask lenders if that appraisal gap money is documented. Do they have it liquid? Or is it to be, or is it what? I've had listing agents ask that question. I can't answer that question. I don't really necessarily need to know where their money's coming from, but I know that it needs to be there. So I like lenders to talk through what appraisal gaps are with the clients and figure out how you're going to do that. I've had 401k loans. I have like HELOCs. Like I've had people have an existing HELOC and they pull it, but I need to know how soon they can get that cash. All of that stuff. Have them talk about appraisal gaps with the lender, because really you're on the line if they can't come up with the money, right? So, and you don't necessarily shouldn't know how they come up with the
Can I
money.
jump in real quick on that too?
Yes, please do. I was
Yeah,
hoping
so I mean, obviously she's 100% right on that. You need to make sure the assets are there, but it can also change their approval. So I mean, if they're very tight on debt to income, and they have to add, $30,000, take that away from their down payment, that means that their monthly payment now goes up, which means they could have a debt to income that is too high and they're no longer approved.
Yep.
So again, this is where the triangle of trust that Liz talks about is very important, that all three of you are communicating and on the same page there, and have gone through all of the options that they have. And again, another reason why you talk about this before you're out there making these offers. So yeah, definitely get your lender involved when you're talking about appraisal gap coverage, adding a 401k, and some of those might include payments. So just make sure you have all your ducks in a row when you're doing that.
I'm just screenshotting everyone. Cool one on Zoom. Yeah, I mean, these strategies again, they're strategies. You don't have to put every single thing in every offer, but when you're a listing agent, when you're a buyer's agent, add to this list. Keep adding to your strategies list. Have a strategies list. Add to it. I have this on this is in my Google Drive for my coaching agents, so email me if you want a link to this, but have this kind of stuff. Like if tissue items need to get done and you have that on your original offer, take those off. Delayed possession, huge stress relief. Most people don't need it, but huge stress relief. Rent backs. Talk to the lender about this. Figure out how much extra it would cost them to do a rent back. But rent backs can be really great, and they're just nice to have as a supplement in your offer. Like we can put this rent back. Here's a rent back form. We can add this to our offer or amend our offer if the seller really wants a rent back. Just have it filled out anyway. Buyers can pay sellers' closing costs. Sellers can leave personal property in the house. Buyer and sellers to walk through the property agents 1 week to clarify what's going to be there and remain at closing, and buyers assume responsibility. So whenever things work in your offers, just update your strategies to, oops, I didn't have anything shared. Update your strategies to have what has worked for your clients. Okay. And that's where making a little spreadsheet of the wins can be super helpful. And you can do that when you're turning in your file. Make that something in your process. I'm turning it into Pemberton. I'm gonna add to like my client wins spreadsheet. Just put the offer terms in there. If it's part of your process, it'll be something that you can have forever. And it's so cool to open up a buyer presentation in the spring and say, look at all these wins. And by the way, here are their numbers, phone numbers, and emails for references. Like, or just look at you don't have to have their names, but whatever. Have a list of wins. Have stuff that know works. All right, cool. Anyone have anything that they want to share about multiple offers or questions that they have? We will probably have I think we have a multiple offers training coming up, but I knew this was probably going to be a part of the presentation that people might want to talk about. So, anyone have anything specifically they want to ask or share with multiple offers? A listing agent's most favorite 2 words and a buyer's agent's most dreaded 2 words, right? Okay. And the point is not to scare them, but to let them know it's a reality and show that you are the expert and you have strategies to help them. Okay? That's what's important. Okay. Trying to move on from this. Again, this is where like my technical skills lack a little. Okay.
Liz, did
All
you
right.
say that strategy is in Google Docs?
It's
That
in
we
my
can-
Google Drive, yeah.
Would
It's
we?
not shared, but just email me after if you want a link to it.
Okay.
Cool. How does a lender play a role? So you're going to set up with the communication with the lender on your showing schedules for the weekend, get availability from them, and then set up how they're going to communicate with offers and the listing agent. In my multiple offers training, I will ask an agent. I do a lot of stuff to set up multiple offer success with listing agents for my clients, but I ask them how they like to be communicated with. Do you prefer text, phone call, email? And if a lender wants to get in touch with you, which do you prefer? And go with that. Always go with what they tell you to do. But set this up so you maybe have 3 pre-approval letters or a pre-approval letter or whatever. Have that set up ahead of time. So it's not, hey, offers are due at 8, and I'm still trying to track down the lender to get a property specific pre-approval letter or whatever. Get all of that set up ahead of time because they're a lot less busy Monday through Thursday than they are Friday through Sunday with their families and everything, and just with the amount of volume of stuff. Okay, so other offer strategies, look at things in the seller's house and their lives based on their home and ask, like, what could make a move easier? So if they have a ton of stuff, that delayed possession. Look at the things they have. Consider a walk and talk inspection with an inspector that'll do that. If it's only a few days on market, don't show it again if they don't want to offer list price. Show them the money in the monthly mortgage. So I say, hey, for every $1,000 of offer price, it's about $7 a month in your mortgage. So will an extra $10,000, which is $70, will that break the bank for you? So a lot of times people think, oh my God, $10,000, that's a lot. Well, $70 a month. Break that down for them so they understand that. That has helped my clients figure things out in their head because those numbers are scary. 10 grand is a scary number, but let's break it down per month. And then ask them, hey, do I have your permission? You give me permission to be transparent and direct with you. Can I share with you what I think will be able to take us to the top offers here? You can choose whether you want to do them, but can I give you my opinion? Remind them that, okay? Ask your lender if they have a closing guarantee. Matt, do you want to explain what a closing guarantee is? Do you have one?
Closing guarantee, we do not have one. I mean, our approvals, I mean, again, the closing guarantee outside of appraisals or potential seller issues. I mean, what is our closing rate? It's probably close to 99%.
And that's what and that's what you want to share. And that's what your
Yep.
lender will share. Hey,
Yes.
every single thing we put together as agent is closed. This is our closing rate.
Yep.
Blah, 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 blah. Make them feel comfortable. Really make
Yeah.
them feel comfortable. Okay. And if it's a condo or townhome, shorten the CIC review to a 3-day minimum. Shorten your inspection. Like there are a lot of things. So these are just some things I go over with clients, to commonly go over. When you email the offer, don't send it over from Click. Please don't. Do something more personalized. ask permission to share a little bit about the buyer and paint a picture. And I always say, please assure your sellers that I'm a full-time agent. My team and I will close over 1,000 homes this year. Now you can say 2,000. That's how many we're going to do. The buyer's lender and I have been working together personally and professionally for X amount of years. We promise excellent service to all parties to the transaction. What I do next is I send them a cute little graphic to their phone that breaks down the entire offer, breaks down who the parties are involved with, and it's got contact information. So then they don't have to go in their email and look. Hey, I sent you an offer in, boom, here's a cute little breakdown of it, right? Okay. All of that stuff. And then I've got the contacts for who's doing everything so they can just really quickly see it. It's Canva, it's easy. Yeah.
Real quick, we got a question from the chat. Is a 3-day CIC period realistic if the HOA docs are not available to view before offer?
CIC is when you receive them. So as soon as you receive them, that clock starts, and please always use a receipt of CIC. Get that signed receipt from your buyers, or you can sign it. If they come to you, it's signed. Doesn't start. So don't worry about that. Just shorten it. As soon as you have the docs, you've got 3 days. Good question. But you use a little boom, 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 so they can see it. You know, they know you're organized. They know you're putting time into this. That's really what you want to do. Okay. This is a huge component of my strategies with buyers. Off-market advocacy. How do you find them off-market opportunities? Search in the MLS, add in a column for agent email on an MLS search, create a Google sheet, and email those agents. And I'm going to show you an example, or send one-to-one texts, offer to see it. And then if they respond back, hey, nope, I don't have anything. I know I sell a lot there, but I don't have anything coming up. Offer to say, hey, what are your buyer needs? And I'm happy to check my stuff, our withholds, to see if we have a match. Create a relationship with those agents. Email them monthly with your buyer needs. Okay. Here is an example of what Madeline and I sent out to, which got responses, sent out to agents. And here's a response, but good afternoon. My name is Liz Gust. I'm with Pemberton Real Estate in Edina. I saw you represented a sale at this building and wanted to reach out with my buyer's agent. We're looking for we have a well-qualified downsizing buyer who's prepared to purchase with cash and interested. We wanted to see if any of your past clients who may have been considering selling, even if they haven't formally listed yet. So I took the buyer's agent for a condo building, ran a search, emailed them all. Go to your listing agent, go to your buyer's agents in the neighborhoods you want, run a search, email them all. If they respond, offer, hey, what do you have? What needs do you have? Can I check my withholds? Create a relationship. Send these back and forth. I have an off-market showing right now with Krista Wolter, CB, one of the top agents in the state with Coldwell. We go back and forth like this all the time. Okay. Go on to MLS, pull that. If you don't know how to do it, ask me, but advocate and tell your clients, this is what I'm going to be doing off market to find houses for you. Okay. Set their expectation that you're going to do it and start doing this for your clients. And also put something on social media, email your database once a month with your buyer needs. Okay. How to communicate going forward with your buyers. Set up showing times weekly in the spring with your buyers before they have stuff they want to see. Hey, Tim and Lisa, I'm calling to get your schedule. I'm texting you your schedule for the week. What should we put on the books for showings? And then you backfill them in. Set up your calendar. You drive your calendar, not the other way around. Okay. I send my A buyers all of these things, open houses every week. I have a search set up. I just check the boxes, email them. Here are the open houses that you're seeing every week. If you're going to see something, let me know. I will text that agent, let them know that you're coming. So that way, if they have offers on it, because we don't have a showing time, we don't get an update, they have my contact information. Okay. Open houses, home free TC updates. I have a template in Canva. Anyone can use it. It's got the Pemberton stuff. You can take that data, plug it in, put it out with Pemberton stuff. Active dependings or close prices. So I'm going to send them once a month if they're long searchers, what goes from active to pending, what goes from pending to close. Just going to send them a little quick CMA, break it down into ChatGPT. Madeline and I did this for clients over the weekend. Make a buyer need video and share it to your socials. I said that. I just didn't know where it was in the presentation. Do this for every single buyer. So people start to see this is how Liz finds stuff for her clients. And I have found stuff. I've closed stuff even this year from those stupid videos. Email out your buyer needs to your database monthly. You can also say, I've got this coming up. Anyone looking for a mini farm in Rosemont? I had one of my clients. Hey, we sold our St. Paul Mac Groveland house with you. Off market, by the way, because I'm a boss. And like my sister is looking for a little like acreage property. Can you tell me more about it? All that stuff. Communicate with your database. These are the things you should be sending to your people every week, every month to stay on top of the market. Okay. That is all I have for you. Are there any questions or anything? I am almost right on time. I'm getting better and better at presenting in an hour. I told Matt, I said, I'm going to throw a lot of stuff at people and go really fast, but there are a lot of things that we can be doing. These are all best practices. And I like, you know, I tend to not be necessarily a volume-based agent. I want to give my A game to everyone. So just stuff that and a lot of this stuff is just, I do the same things all the time and being put into practice. Whenever I can make a habit, I try to make a habit of. But I know we don't always have a ton of time. There's hopefully a couple strategies you can use that you haven't been using with your buyers, or at least start to think about communicating with these future buyer consults. And then regroups. Hey, if they were looking in the fall, we need to have a meeting and talk about the spring market and talk about what's changed and how to put a best foot forward. Don't be afraid to have those conversations with your clients. Okay. Again, they're going to show that you're advocating for them in their search. Questions? No?
If anybody has any questions or scenarios with their current sellers or buyers, let us know. We'd be happy to help.
Yeah. If you're like, hey, this is kind of what they're looking at financially, this is what we've been offering. I know all of the performance coaches are happy to review offers for you guys, or like take a second look at things and see if there are things that are just left out of the situation. Here's my email. So if there's anything you want, just let me know. Christy, what's your question or comment?
Hey, yeah, in the chat, I put just a question whether the 2-1 buy downs are still a thing. And I don't remember the specific details about how you could use that to cover an appraisal gap, but that was a strategy a few years ago. So just curious if those are a thing now.
Matt?
You can do 2-1 buy downs still. They're less prevalent, I'd say. Less people are using them. Again, a lot of them are going to be required to be seller contributions to get the 2-1 buy down. They're not as beneficial when you're
Right.
using your own money. So no, we're not seeing them as much with rates kind of heading down. Well, now they're heading back up, but
Thanks, Matt. Kidding. Just
on a
kidding.
bright Monday morning, it's going to be below zero here coming soon. No, again, I think that's a conversation for the buyer to have with the lender saying, hey, here's the options. Here's what a 2-1 buy down looks like. Is this something you'd want to spend your own money on? Again, if they can get seller contributions, that's a different story.
Well, that's, yeah, in the scenario, and I know I left a big gap in explaining how, because I forgot myself, but you could get seller contributions and yeah, I don't have my notes in front of me, but you could basically cover an appraisal gap with negotiating that through the seller. So it made me think of it when we were talking about appraisal gaps,
Yeah.
as that's an option. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, I think appraisals, they use the last 6 months of data. So the further and further and further we get into the spring and summer, the better prices are going to be. But these early ones in February and sometimes March are going to see some more appraisal stuff. Yeah, like new construction still has buy downs. Like they're trying to close out their inventory. So if you're working with a lender, a new construction lender, specific to that builder, we're seeing some deals, but I haven't seen any buy downs recently, really either. So, yeah. Cool. Well, thanks everyone for joining. Hopefully our snow starts to melt and we'll see everyone tomorrow. Reminder that we've got like a special thing for Parker tomorrow. So if you can come to the PRE Dyna location, that would be awesome. Okay. Have a good day, everyone.
Thanks, Liz.
Thank you.
Bye.